Olivia and Anna Gimeno were two young sisters from Tenerife, a Spanish island renowned for its beauty and isolation. At the time of the tragic events, Olivia was 6 years old, while her sister Anna had just passed her first birthday. On the evening of April 27, 2021, their father, Tomás Gimeno, abducted the two children in a chilling act that would spark a nationwide search. Authorities launched one of the largest and most intense manhunts in Spanish history, scouring land and sea for any sign of the missing girls. More than a month later, the grim truth behind their disappearance was uncovered, sending shockwaves throughout the entire nation. The story unfolds on the island of Tenerife, part of the Canary Islands archipelago off northwest Africa under Spanish governance. It was here that Tomás Antonio Gimeno Casanova and Beatriz Zimmerman met as teenagers, their paths crossing within the island's elite circles. Both hailed from affluent families deeply rooted in Tenerife's high society. Their shared social connections and mutual acquaintances brought them together, weaving their lives into a common tapestry. Their courtship blossomed quickly, evolving into a serious relationship as they indulged in the privileges their wealth afforded. They frequently dined at upscale restaurants, played tennis and golf, and traveled extensively, savoring the luxuries of their privileged lives, seeking to build a family. The couple settled on a farm in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, planting the seeds for their future. In 2015, their first daughter, Olivia, was born, bringing joy to their lives. 3 years later, in 2018, tragedy struck. Their newborn son, Tomás, passed away just hours after birth, leaving a deep wound in the family. This devastating loss shook both Beatriz and Tomás to their core, compounding the strain already present in their troubled relationship. Beatriz found herself adrift, overwhelmed by grief and the unraveling of their union. Though their marriage showed clear signs of collapse, they clung to the facade of togetherness for some time longer. In 2019, hope briefly returned when Beatriz became pregnant again, welcoming their second daughter, Anna, on February 20, 2020. Olivia embraced her new sister eagerly, forming a tender bond that brought light to their fractured family. Anna's birth sparked moments of happiness and unity between Beatriz and Tomás, fleeting though they were. Beneath the surface, however, the relationship was deteriorating rapidly, becoming untenable. Tomás showed little ambition, displaying no interest in work or studies. He relied on the lucrative family business, confident that his father's wealth would sustain his indulgent lifestyle. Unlike his sisters, who pursued education and careers, Tomás preferred a life of leisure, leaving Beatriz to care for their daughters. His nights were often spent with friends or other women, far from domestic responsibilities. He frequented bars and nightclubs where alcohol and drugs became his escape. Beatriz contemplated leaving Tomás for some time, yet she clung to hope that he might change and their family could be saved. But the situation only worsened with time. Though Tomás never resorted to physical violence, his increasing substance abuse fueled verbal abuse and humiliation. He relentlessly belittled Beatriz, calling her useless and incapable, aiming to erode her self-worth with cruel words. The breaking point came when Beatriz uncovered Tomás's long-term infidelity with another woman. It was as if Tomás was leading a double life, a husband in name and a secret lover elsewhere. Enraged and disillusioned, Beatriz resolved to end their 15-year relationship. Determined to shield their daughters from upheaval, she advocated for shared custody, hoping to preserve some semblance of normalcy for Olivia and Anna. This arrangement aimed to let the girls maintain balanced contact with both parents, softening the blow of the family's fracture. Following the separation, Beatriz entered a relationship with Eric Dom, a Belgian businessman in his 60s. She had met Eric years earlier through Tomás's family connections. Eric had acquired land from Tomás's family to establish a plantation, his company specializing in exotic plants. Insiders described Beatriz's new relationship as starkly different from her past with Tomás. Eric showed dedication and respect, qualities absent from her previous marriage. He embraced Beatriz's daughters, fully treating them as his own flesh and blood. Beatriz's life seemed to be turning a corner. For the first time in years, she felt genuine happiness and hope for a better future for herself and her children. Plans were underway to relocate to Belgium, Eric's homeland and business base. But Tomás's fury erupted upon learning of Beatriz's new relationship, igniting a campaign of harassment. He made it clear he would not tolerate an older man raising his daughters, and vowed to make their lives miserable. Despite entering a new relationship himself, Tomás relentlessly targeted Beatriz and Eric in the months that followed. On August 30th, 2020, the family went to a restaurant in the city, unaware that danger was lurking nearby. Tomás, having discovered their location, waited in the restaurant's parking lot. He lay in wait until Beatriz, Eric, and the children left the establishment. Unaware of the threat, Beatriz and Eric were caught off guard as Tomás confronted them wielding a piece of wood. Tomás launched a violent attack on Eric, striking him repeatedly. Beatriz rushed to protect Eric, only to be struck in the head herself, collapsing to the ground. In a violent outburst, Tomás struck Eric several times before turning his rage on Beatriz, dragging her by the hair across the parking lot. This brutal assault unfolded in full view of their two daughters, Olivia and Anna. Bystanders inside the restaurant and passers-by witnessed the terrifying scene, their fear palpable as chaos erupted before them. Desperate calls to the civil guard soon followed, summoning law enforcement, who arrived swiftly at the scene. Yet Tomás was quicker than the authorities, slipping away before they could intervene. Later, police descended on Tomás's residence and arrested him for serious assault backed by multiple eyewitness accounts and the severe injuries sustained by Beatriz and Eric. He now faced the grim prospect of prison time. However, Beatriz chose not to press charges against her ex-partner, a necessary step to formally accuse Tomás of the crime. Sources revealed that Beatriz also persuaded her partner Eric to withhold pressing charges, allowing Tomás to evade formal accusation and secure release. Beatriz's decision stemmed from her desire to protect her daughters and avoid tearing apart Tomás's family with incarceration. The tension did not end there. In December 2020, another disturbing incident unfolded between Beatriz and Tomás. This time, the violence was verbal. Tomás unleashed a torrent of insults, leaving Beatriz feeling terrified and humiliated. Overwhelmed, Beatriz took the brave step of heading to the civil guard station to file a complaint. Yet upon arrival, she withdrew her complaint for the same reasons that had silenced her before. Officers already familiar with the troubled history between Beatriz and Tomás were instructed by their superiors to monitor Tomás closely from that moment onward. In response to growing safety concerns, custody of Olivia and Anna shifted exclusively to Beatriz, ending the shared arrangement with Tomás. This change was driven by fears for the girls' well-being, as Tomás's aggression had escalated in recent months. From then on, any visitation by Tomás required Beatriz's explicit approval, enforcing a fragile control over their interactions. Meanwhile, Beatriz formalized her relationship with Eric. She moved in with him in Radazul, a coastal town in Tenerife, where she was named a representative of one of his companies. For a time, the storm seemed to pass and calm appeared to settle between Beatriz and Tomás. The civil guard even reached out to Beatriz to check on her well-being. She assured them all was fine, as Tomás had shown no recent signs of violence, his past behavior not yet marking him as a dangerous man. Many believed his earlier violence was a fleeting jealousy, a man struggling to accept his ex-partner's new relationship. But beneath this fragile calm lurked a far darker capability in Tomás. In the days leading up to the devastating events, he meticulously planned a crime that would shock all of Spain. On the afternoon of April 27, 2021, Tomás collected Anna from Beatriz's home in Radazul, then retrieved Olivia from her school where she was rehearsing. 5 days earlier, he had agreed with Beatriz to pick up the girls and take them to dinner at his parents' house in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, promising to return them by 9 p.m. But this was a calculated lie. Along with the girls, Tomás left Beatriz a package instructing her to open it only after midnight. Unaware of the sinister plot unfolding, Beatriz complied, storing the package to open at the designated hour. She assumed it was a simple gesture from an ex-partner attempting to maintain a connection for their children's sake. After collecting his daughters, Tomás drove to his home in Igueste de Candelaria, about 15 minutes from Santa Cruz. He lied to Beatriz, claiming he would take them to his parents' house, but instead brought them to his own. Inside his house, Tomás sedated both girls and confined each inside separate suitcases. He packed several other bags with personal items, including clothes and jewelry, preparing for a grim journey. He then made a brief stop at his parents' home, though they noticed nothing amiss. All the suitcases, including the ones concealing Olivia and Anna, were loaded into his car, their contents hidden from view. From there, Tomás drove to Puerto Deportivo Marina de la Cruz, where his boat awaited. Security cameras captured his arrival, notably without the girls by his side. By 9:30 p.m., Beatriz, growing anxious as the agreed 9 p.m. return time passed, went to Tomás's house. She rang the doorbell, knocked on the gate, and called out, but the house was silent and empty. Beatriz then phoned Tomás, demanding to know his whereabouts and when the girls would be returned. Tomás apologized, claiming he and the girls were still at his parents' house and promised to bring them home soon. Unconcerned, Beatriz believed it was merely a delay. She reassured Tomás that it was okay, then returned home. Close to midnight, after loading all the suitcases onto his boat, Tomás awaited the inevitable call from Beatriz. He knew she would soon open the mysterious package he had left. Her bewildered and reaching out for answers, and she did exactly that. At midnight, Beatriz opened the package to find a substantial sum of cash bills of various euro denominations. The exact amount remains uncertain. Estimates range from around 10,000 euros to figures exceeding 20,000 euros. Confused and unsettled, Beatriz called Tomás, desperate to understand the meaning behind this cryptic gift. In a chilling declaration, Tomás revealed that his actions were for Olivia and Anna, warning that neither Beatriz nor anyone else would ever see his daughters again. Overcome with desperation, Beatriz immediately reached out to the civil guard, urgently explaining the dire situation unfolding. Yet at that moment, the officers found themselves limited in their response. That was the official stance they communicated to her. Because Tomás was the legal father, and with no evident threat against his daughters, the civil guard declined to issue a search alert for him. They advised Beatriz to remain calm, suggesting Tomás might be hiding with the girls temporarily, intending only to frighten her before reappearing. After leaving the civil guard headquarters, Beatriz resolved to contact every family member and friend of Tomás she could reach. She inquired about his whereabouts, but no one offered any useful information. Only Tomás's parents had seen him earlier that day. He had stopped by their house, leaving his dog in their care. Beatriz found these details increasingly suspicious. When she asked if Olivia and Anna were safe, Tomás's parents admitted they hadn't seen the girls and believed he was alone. Unbeknownst to them, the children were concealed inside 2 suitcases, hidden in Tomás's vehicle. Beatriz also attempted to reach Tomás directly, but his cell phone was switched off. While Beatriz scrambled to locate her family, Tomás departed from the port aboard his boat. Just an hour before speaking with Beatriz, he had ominously claimed she would never see her daughters again. Authorities had approached Tomás, noting he was breaching restrictions on movement. It was 2021, the world still grappling with the relentless grip of the global health crisis. The police warned Tomás that he was not permitted in that area of the port. Despite this, officers observed nothing suspicious and did not inspect his vehicle. Tomás explained he was there only to load items onto his boat and had no intention of leaving the port afterward. The officers departed and Tomás began loading his bags onto the vessel. Authorities later confirmed that after placing his suitcases on board, Tomás left the port twice on his boat. He had also disabled the boat's GPS to conceal its route. The first voyage lasted 2 hours, after which Tomás returned and waited at the port for his phone to charge. However, by the time he returned, the suitcases were no longer with him. Once his phone had enough charge, Tomás contacted Beatriz, engaging in a 20-minute conversation. During this call, he spoke of their relationship, the girls, and his regrets, chillingly insisting Beatriz would never see Olivia and Anna again, as he intended to flee far away with them. While the exact words Beatriz used remain unknown, one can imagine the desperation in a mother's pleas for her daughter's safe return. Regardless of her entreaties, Tomás ended the call, turned off his phone, and vanished once more with his boat, never to return. This disappearance occurred around 2:00 a.m. on April 28, 2021. Following this, Beatriz returned to the civil guard, reporting every detail of Tomás's actions. This time, the authorities acted swiftly, issuing an alert and launching an extensive search. Investigators speculated that Tomás might have taken the girls to distant lands, possibly South America or Africa. This theory gained strength when it emerged that Tomás had transferred large sums into his bank accounts, only to withdraw them shortly afterward. He also sent farewells to several close acquaintances, expressing gratitude and declaring his departure for a faraway place. In the days preceding his disappearance, Tomás gave his motorcycle to a trusted friend and handed over his prized Alfa Romeo Giulia, worth over 40,000 euros, to his parents. He left the signed transfer papers with them, allowing for the possibility of selling the vehicle. On the morning of April 28th, authorities discovered Tomás's boat adrift near the port of Guimar, about an hour from Puerto de Puerto Marina de la Cruz, where his journey had begun. There was no trace of Tomás, Olivia, or Anna. The vessel was deserted, save for some children's drawings, a hair bow, and stains that appeared to be blood. Further examination confirmed the presence of blood, which was sent for forensic analysis. Initially, authorities feared the blood belonged to one of the girls, but tests revealed it was Tomás's own. With the boat's discovery and the unfolding tragedy of the wealthy father who abducted his daughters, media attention exploded across Spain and parts of Europe. News outlets relentlessly followed the case, every move by the authorities scrutinized by millions. The pressure mounted intensely. Faces of Tomás, Olivia, and Anna filled screens everywhere as the search escalated. On April 29th, a child's car seat was found floating near the area where the boat had been discovered. The Civil Guard's Special Underwater Activities Group conducted exhaustive dives in the vicinity, but despite their efforts found no further clues. Meanwhile, friends and family launched social media campaigns imploring anyone with information on Tomás and the girls to come forward. Photos of Tomás, Olivia, and Anna, accompanied by detailed descriptions, circulated widely online, aiming to aid identification. Authorities also conducted a thorough search of Tomás's home. Authorities arrived to find the property in disarray, filthy and chaotic, as if abandoned for months. Two peculiar details inside the house immediately drew investigators' suspicion. The first was a package of large garden bags typically used for hauling soil and plant debris. Tomás Gimeno's home featured an extensive garden, so such bags were not unusual. Yet his garden lay in neglect, overrun and dry, while the bags appeared brand new. Investigators learned that Tomás had bought these bags for a different purpose, with some missing from the package. The second detail was discovered outside in the backyard amidst the unkempt land. The terrain was overgrown with weeds. Plants were dried up, the garden left to rot. But in one section, freshly disturbed earth broke the monotony. Authorities dug into this patch, bracing for the worst, but found nothing. It emerged that Tomás had removed soil from his yard, filling several bags. No soil-filled bags remained on the property, suggesting Tomás had taken them elsewhere. Further bottles of pills believed to be sedatives were discovered inside the house. Authorities theorized these were used by Tomás to drug his daughters. The case's massive publicity led hundreds to contact police claiming sightings of Tomás and his daughters. Reports poured in from across the globe, some seeming plausible at first glance. But every lead was verified and ultimately disproven. Investigators concluded many sightings were cases of mistaken identity or deliberate fabrications. One man even tried to exploit the tragedy for profit. Claiming to know the sisters' whereabouts, this individual from Colombia demanded a $5,000 ransom to reveal the information. Authorities soon exposed the scheme, though details about this man's fate remain unclear, as suspicions grew that Tomás had fled abroad with his daughters. Interpol joined the hunt, issuing a yellow alert for Tomás and the girls. Despite intensified searches, no significant breakthroughs emerged. Eventually, the Central Operational Unit assumed control of the case. This elite team, part of the Spanish Civil Guard, specializes in complex investigations. They were renowned for solving high-profile cases, including those of Asunta Bastera, Gabriel Cruz, and Diana Quer. A previous documentary on Diana Quer's case is available for further context. A card at the end of this video links directly to that investigation for those interested. Alongside the Central Operational Unit, the Spanish Institute of Oceanography's ship Ángeles Alvariño joined the search efforts. Days passed with no tangible progress. Public opinion leaned toward the belief that Tomás had already settled abroad with his daughters, making the search increasingly desperate. Then, on June 8th, the Ángeles Alvariño discovered an oxygen cylinder and a duvet cover belonging to Tomás submerged far from where his boat had been found. This grim find prompted authorities to intensify their search near the sea. 2 days later, on June 10th, divers found 2 sports bags over 1,000 meters deep on the ocean floor. Both bags were secured to an anchor later identified as belonging to Tomás's boat. One bag was torn open, empty, likely ripped upon impact with the seabed. The other bag was sealed tight and concealed a horrific secret. Inside lay the body of a girl, unrecognizable at first glance, but identified by authorities as Olivia Gimeno. With 2 bags found and 1 torn, investigators concluded the missing bag had once contained Anna Gimeno's body, washed away by the sea through the tear. An autopsy later confirmed the grim identity and cause of death for Olivia: suffocation. Police deduced Tomás had drugged and then suffocated both daughters. He placed each in a sports bag, anchored them to his boat, and cast them into the depths. One bag containing Olivia's body remained intact. The other likely tore due to pressure or collision, its contents lost to the sea. Police believe Tomás initially tried to weigh down the bags with soil-filled garden bags from his yard, but something went awry. He then resorted to using his boat's anchor to ensure they sank. Olivia's death shocked Spain, shattering Beatriz and the community's hopes with unrelenting despair. Media outlets covering the case reported the devastating discovery, leaving the public in mourning. Most had clung to the belief that Tomás and his daughters had escaped unharmed. Beatriz Zimmerman, the girl's mother, was left shattered. Hope lingered, as most believed the 2 sisters were alive, living with their father in some distant land. In a poignant declaration, Beatriz announced her resolve to strip her daughters of their paternal surname, severing the last visible link to Tomás Gimeno. She also released a heartfelt letter thanking the authorities and the public for their unwavering support in this dark chapter. Days later, even as officials admitted the vast sea search was yielding no results and finding Anna's body seemed nearly impossible, Beatriz's voice rose in a desperate plea to keep the search alive. She confessed that she would find no peace until she could lay her beloved daughter to rest. Moved by her determination, authorities resumed their search efforts with renewed commitment. At this juncture, 2 stark theories emerged regarding Tomás Gimeno's fate. One suggested he had ended his own life plunging into the sea, weighed down to ensure he would never resurface. The other whispered a darker possibility that he had escaped to another country, rescued from his drifting boat by an accomplice's vessel. The following days were consumed by relentless searches across the sea, fraught with tension and despair. Yet despite the exhaustive efforts and unwavering dedication of the authorities, no trace of Tomás or little Anna emerged from the vast ocean. Searches expanded onto land, sweeping across Tenerife, but these too bore no fruit. Ultimately, the fruitless search had to be called off. Revisiting the early days, the civil guards who first met with Beatriz at the guard headquarters had reassured her that Tomás was merely attempting to intimidate her, promising her daughter's safe return. However, the Spanish Civil Guard Command launched an internal investigation into the conduct of these officers, uncovering negligence under the law. The inquiry concluded that the guards had failed in their duties and they faced administrative penalties for their oversight. This tragic case ignited a nationwide debate on vicarious violence, where an ex-partner inflicts harm on children to torment their mother, as Tomás did to Beatriz. Across Spain, protests erupted, with citizens demanding justice and raising their voices against this cruel form of abuse. With the search concluded, Beatriz and her family faced the unbearable reality that Anna's body might never be recovered. In a public ceremony, little Anna was laid to rest, a decision made by her mother to honor the overwhelming solidarity shown by the community. Soon after, a separate funeral commemorated little Olivia. On October 18, 2022, a bronze statue was unveiled in a children's park in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, immortalizing the memory of Anna and Olivia. The sculpture was the creation of Julio Nieto, a Basque artist who has called Tenerife home for many years. Donated by the Diario de Avisos Foundation, the statue was presented to Beatriz Zimmerman, with numerous political figures attending the solemn inauguration. Despite these tributes, both Anna and Tomás remain missing to this day. Authorities maintain that neither survived, their bodies swallowed by the unforgiving sea surrounding Tenerife. Yet among those who closely followed the case, a lingering belief persists. Some are convinced that Tomás Gimeno still lives hidden away in a distant South American country. Did Tomás end his life in the sea, or did he escape to a distant land? Share your theories below.